Back. So today's video we're going to talk a little bit about the Hubsan H107C. I've been doing a few videos on this lately, extreme high flying tests, and so far I've gotten up there a couple hundred feet, still not lost range, which is bonus. Anyways, I still got one final test to do, and that's to max it out completely. And so anyways, the blades that I had on this, because you'll notice I've got black and orange, and they look nothing like the Hubsan blades. These blades here are the original blades, and they're getting pretty beat up and chunked up, especially my other white one here. And I've still been flying the quad with these, and it's still been pretty stable. But to give you an idea of size comparison, these are actually a little bit bigger in some aspects, and they're almost the same length, and they got a little bit different pitch to them as well. And so these new blades are actually going to work out much better because I also don't have to have as much throttle up to get it up in the air. Now we're going to talk to a little bit about blade weights too. These blades are from the Cheerson Flying Eggs. Now they're exactly the same blade as what comes with the UDI 816s and the 16A quadcopters, which are slightly larger quadcopter than this thing is. And so they're also a little bit heavier, and I'm going to do a weight test just to show you what's going on, because I've also upgraded my battery since yesterday. This is the battery I was running. It's a 380 milliamp 25C. I now have a 500 milliamp 25C battery, which is slightly longer and a little bit thinner profile, and we're going to show you weight differences, etc. So I've got one of my extra Cheerson blades here, and this is a black one, and we're going to measure this in grains. And so we got 5.4 grains, all right, of weight. And then we'll take one of the stock blades, and we're at 4.6, so a little bit heavier, okay? This battery here, now this isn't the original battery that came with the Hubsan, it's a replacement because I wore out the first battery, but it's the same battery. Now this is 177 grains, okay, so 177.0 is 177 grain. Now the 500 milliamp battery is 192 grain, okay, so a little bit heavier. So you're thinking, well, you should have reduced flight time, you're adding weight, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm actually increasing flight time regardless because I have a 500 milliamp battery as opposed to a 380. So now the full weight of the quadcopter right now, if I can get it to actually do this, is 404.8 grains for the entire quadcopter. So that's actually not too shabby. And that's with the battery installed, because I do have one of the 500s in here already. I'll just pop that out. Now if you're thinking about upgrading your battery, I use the carpet side of Velcro, and you're going to need to do that in order to get this battery to stay in there firmly, because without it, I'll show you on its twin, this is going to come out of there, and it will come out during flight. I found that out the hard way once. So yeah, Velcro, slap her in, and make sure you keep your directions, one this side, one on this side, because this needs to turn into a loop, okay? Let's move our little scale out of the way. Now, my thinking in theory, what should happen, I will have enough battery power to do this now that I'm running the 500. My theory is that once I lose radio communication between the quad and the radio, this should just shut right down. So we're going to simulate that by just firing up the quad here. I'm going to put my finger there so I can't move. Now I'm going to pretend I'm at full throttle here, because I will be when I'm in the air. Now I'm going to just kill the power. So it took a second or two, but now the power is shut down, okay? We're still at full throttle. Now let's turn the power back onto the radio. It will not rebind. So once I lose radio communication, I'm not rebinding. I'm not going to be able to salvage at all. I won't be able to, you know, I'm screwed at that point. It's hitting the earth, and that's all there is to it. Now, if you've watched my extreme high flying video part 2, what you'll find in that video is that I did run out of battery power. I wasn't, 300 feet in the air at the time, but I was up a little bit, and it plummeted to the earth, because that's exactly what happens. The only warning system that this thing has to tell you that the batteries are low is the lights will flash, and they'll flash rapidly, and you have approximately 30 to maybe 40 seconds if you're lucky, before it just cuts the power to the motors, and that's it. It leaves enough reserve power that the lights still flash, and you'll be able to turn off your camera to save your footage. Okay, and of course our little card goes down there, and this is the on and off for the recorder. Okay, so you press it once, it turns on, you'll see a little red light flashing, means you're recording. Push it again, shuts it off, and automatically saves it. If you just unplug the battery and not push that button, you will not save any of your footage, so keep that in mind. Now the important thing is, like I was saying with this whole loop thing, it has to have the loop, and you can push the loop down and out of the way, so this way it can't come up and fly into the blades, okay, because that would be bad. So make sure that after you plugged it in and bound it, make sure you push that down a little bit. It'll keep it out of the way. If you have the battery in the wrong way, okay, let's just use this as our example. Now your wires are here, they can actually get caught up into this blade. It is possible. So I found that the best way is the right way, and that's this way. Now you'll notice that these batteries are longer, and it sticks out a little bit further. Okay, the battery that came out, it's buried inside there pretty decently. Okay, and the wire is kind of just visible, right? Or the battery is, it's just visible there, and it holds in fairly snug, but it can move in and out, which I think that's still a little loose, but it does stay in there. Okay, with these longer batteries, this is going to throw off your trims a little bit. Okay, and I'll show you where my trims are set right now, because I had to trim it out last night because of changing over to a completely different style of blade. And when you change your style and pitch of blade, you got to retrim. Now I am pretty much centered with everything just before it decides to want to move. The movements are pretty micro until it takes a jump. So if you're going, like, say here, and you're trimming up 51%, right, 52, it still stays in the center until you hit a certain point. And there you go, 54, 53. Okay, and when you turn this off and turn it back on again, of course, because it's not bound, you don't get to see anything, so you have to unplug again, rebind, and everything comes back up. Okay, so I'm gonna have to now retrim this again. Whoopsie. But I've got this quad, well, before I just messed with that, I had the quad set as perfect as it's going to get for being able to hover in more or less one spot with minimal drift. Okay, and I still got good power in my batteries too. It's got the power indicator there, so we got lots of power. When you're doing a range test on a machine, you got to make sure that your battery is peaked out in your quad in this case, and your batteries are also fully powered up. I do not use rechargeable batteries in any radio equipment because they're useless. They're lower voltage than alkalines, so you're not getting full power to your radio equipment. So I do not recommend ever using rechargeable batteries in any radio gear on an RC, because you're just asking for trouble. So, but use good quality batteries. So I use Infi cells, Energizers, Duracells. Okay, I use really good batteries, especially when it comes to flying equipment. I'll also use Dynex batteries. They're really good in land vehicles because I'm not too worried. All my land vehicles have fail-safes, and I know they have fail-safes. But otherwise, I use the Infi cells, Duracells, and Energizers because I need maximum range capability. And part of doing a max range test too, like I said, your battery in your quad has to be as peaked out as it can possibly get for power. Then you're going to get the communication, because as this battery does start to go down, that's when you're going to lose your range. So any range test has to be done when everything is fully peaked right away. Get it up there as quickly as possible, and then see what happens. Now in this case, I'm going to definitely recommend, unless you are a really good experienced pilot, don't do any of this stuff that I'm doing. I have a lot of hours in. I've got hundreds of flight time hours. I have a lot of experience flying quads and helicopters, and if you don't have a lot of hours in and a lot of practice in, don't do this stuff, because you're just asking for panic problems. And I was there myself once too, before I decided to practice. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I'm not an expert, I'm not a professional pilot, but I am a really good pilot, and I feel that I'm a really good pilot. And I also learned one really important lesson, thanks to a friend who told me one key thing is, do not ever panic. Because I used to panic a lot when I was flying really high, even with smaller machines. And I'd be like, oh man, I'm wet, I can't get it back. And because these things are really hard, even on my tree line. You guys see my backyard. My tree line is about 70 to 80 feet, and then I'm above the tree line, right? And this thing at that height, just above the tree line, gets really small, right? So can you imagine how small it actually was yesterday when I had it a couple hundred feet up? That was like scary, you know, but I could still see it, you know, and I knew where it was. And bringing it down was the tricky part. When you're bringing these things down, even small quads, or you know, something even this size, okay, and these have a 4-axis gyro, which really sucks actually, because they don't recover as nicely as 6 does. But I mean, there's your size difference, man. Like, come on. And I can still see this thing, this big one, up at the height that this one was at, you know, and I would still be able to fly and control this thing real easy. This one here, I want to keep it one spot and just try and creep my way down. And if you pull the throttle down too quick, that's when you're going to be going, yeah, which is part of what happened, plus probably a little bit of wind up there, and punked out blades really didn't help matters much either. So yeah, so now everything's all brand new, ready to rock and roll, and upgraded of course with battery and props. So now we just need a really nice day to finish our final and third test of extreme flight altitude with this, and to see what happens when we do run out of range. And hopefully it comes back into my backyard when it does plummet to the earth, and hopefully we find it, because if it ends up in the bush, I'm not going to be able to find it. But while I'm flying this and recording on here, my wife will be recording video on the HD camera, and so we'll be able to capture hopefully whatever we can, and also give us a good marker point that if it does go to the bush, we should have some sort of an idea. But unfortunately with the snow, we may never ever find it again until springtime. So it's going to be a dicey one. So we're going to need all the luck we can get on this one, because this is pushing things to the extreme max that we're going to be doing with this. So anyways, if you have any questions, comments, whatever, you know, feel free to ask, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.